All right. So I am live. This is probably the most elaborate method of streaming I've ever done. Full 3-camera setup here. I'm going to see if I can moderate and stream and kind of do work all at the same time. Hopefully everyone can hear me. If anyone's in the chat, can let me know if audio is coming through okay. Good, and it's excellent. All right, thank you, Adam. Thank you, I appreciate that. Appreciate it. So, yeah, this is a mod I've been wanting to do for a while, and I got some parts come in, and I figured let's just do it. Let's just do this, and this is part of my hobby, part of the stuff that I like to do anyway. So, like a surgeon, I gotta steady my hand a little bit, but yeah, I know, right, Tasha? It's woo, and you can see all my bits. I know it's kind of hard to like zoom all that in here without showing too much. Shot of bourbon before surgery. That's exactly it. So look at this. I'm in shorts. I got the hairy knees going. I got the quarantine knees. So yeah, it's like I know that the cameras are there, so I can look that way, or I've got this one right here, or I've got one right here, and it's an interesting way of doing this, for sure. But it's working, I think. So we've got a setup. I can do this and all through StreamYard, and I'll have to use Streamlabs, which is again that totally could have worked, but I like the chat. So who's on the operating table? That's right. So what am I going to start off with? So kind of a primer to anyone who's going to be watching here was the mod that I'm going to be doing is this bad boy right here. So this is the Game Boy Advance, the OG one, and if you notice, it's that's it on right now. Like that's what it looks like when it's on. Like you needed a light, right? And the Game Boy also needed a light, right? But one of the modifications that I've done earlier already on it is a brand new modern IPS screen. So this is what the Game Boy now looks like. And it's a night and day difference. So adding a full IPS screen to this has been amazing. So let's I'll show you what it can do here. Boom, we'll just play a classic here on the regular Game Boy. And we'll just do Tetris. What does Tetris look like on this system here? So it boots up. And again, this is an original Game Boy, no difference. And the screen quality that you get. And what's really neat about this one, since the system was not a color system, it allows you to really change it. So I can go with a certain palette change, like a blue palette. There's the classic green look, if you wanted a green look. Red and black. Go for that Virtual Boy look, and that really matches this particular model of the Game Boy. There's like a yellowish tint, purple tint, and then the black and white, which I tend to go to because it gives you a really clean look. But these mods are all possible because the retro community wants it, right? Like you're able to take an old system like this and really modernize it. You're still playing on a real system, but you no longer require that old dot matrix non-backlit screen. So yep. Thanks, hackers. Exactly. So this is one of the best parts about the retro game community, kind of the preservation of old hardware by kind of upgrading it just a little bit, making it better. So that's what we're doing today, right? So we're gonna. This isn't anything new. There's people that have done this online already, but I was gonna do it, and I figured I'd do it live. So yeah, we're gonna do it. The kit that I ordered is from a great company. There's a few of them that do it. This one happens to be the one that I ordered from, and they're pretty good. They're called Handheld Legends. And, what I got from them in the kit was I got the LCD, which it is thin. It's so thin. That's the actual LCD that'll be going in there. And the ribbon cable, which is what does all the magic. This ribbon cable has got us all sorts of circuitry on here that's able to plug into the original Game Boy Advance, and it plugs into the LCD and it translates it. And this is really a no solder mod, but it does have some solder points on here, which is great. Is these solder points right here are ground select right and left, and when you add these little wires to it, you solder them to the actual board. What that allows you to do is do brightness control with a key combination on the Game Boy. So it's pretty neat. But yeah, so that's that. I did order some extra stuff and they forgot one thing, and I messaged them and they already messaged me back going they forgot. I ordered some crystal clear buttons, and I ordered a crystal clear shell as well, like a full shell, and that's they forgot. And what was going to go inside of it was going to be crystal clear shell with a red membrane button membranes, and then the crystal buttons. So it would have been crystal on crystal. It would have been nice, but I want to go ahead and do it. And plus, I like this shell anyway. So this is the Pokemon Advance, the Pokemon Center New York system, and it's a repro, so it's not anything special. But I figured I'll keep the clearish black with the smoky black, and I'll go with the clear buttons. And so clear buttons, clear sides, clear triggers, black. And then what's going to change as well is this. So this is plastic. This front plastic, it scratches you. Right now it's got a protector on it. I mean, you can see I never even peeled it off when I installed this. But it's still plastic, and it scratches super easily. Like, you don't even have to, you put it in your pocket and you'll get the micro scratches. So there's that. But even then, now that it's not glass, it's plastic. So what's nice is they provide a nice glass cover. So this is a nice glass cover that'll take its place, and that's neat because this allows it to this is just a better, higher quality, won't scratch as easily. Yeah, this will be decked out. So there's one more mod that I'm doing as well. The sound on this is kind of dinky. Like, is that even? Could you even hear that? Let me turn that up all the way. So that's nice. It's not too loud. But what I am doing is I am replacing the speaker with a nice higher quality speaker. So it's a better made speaker, and that is an amplifier. So I will be trying to add this. I need to look up the schematics for this one particularly. It's called the Clean Amp 1.0. It's pretty neat little product. But that's, you add this into, you connect your speaker to that, your inputs into this, and you get a nice cleaner sounding, more just a louder Game Boy. So yeah. What's going on, Rolls? What's going on? 3 mods min, of course. So shell swap, audio, and buttons and IPS screen. So yeah. So say goodbye to that one. We'll fire it up one more time just to see, because I mean that's I mean this system. I think this is my favorite like system style, like the side. But I mean that's, you require a light to play it. Yeah, they did make the SP, but I don't like the SP. It's the fold one, and it lights up, but it's more cramped and smaller buttons and no headphone jack, which is funny from an Apple user. But no headphone jack without a dongle. So back in the day when it's a pocket system, you either have to carry it. It's a mess. Not the way to play that. This one actually has the headphone jack there. Shots fired, right? So. Oh yeah, sure. So I mean, which Game Boy? Your original Game Boy or your advanced? Either way, I mean, I showed earlier before you hopped in. So this was a mod that I did for my original Game Boy, and that one has got the nice backlit screen. on it as well. So we're going to be getting that kind of quality for sure. We'll just load it up again and show you what we're going to be getting. This is the kind of quality we're going to be getting on this. So that's a nice black and white system. It's not even a Game Boy Color. You can also do this to the Game Boy Color. I've got a Game Boy Color up there that I've been meaning to do it to as well. But the Game Boy Advance is coming first. So here we go. So first things first, we're going to go ahead and tear it down, right? So I'm going to move all this stuff out of the way. Take that out. Oh, one other thing is they did provide Handheld Legends. Again, this is Handheld Legends, great company. It only took them a couple of days to get the stuff here. Even though they did forget one part, that's okay. I messaged them. They were apologetic about it. It happens. But they're great. They provide their kit. One of my only things that I don't like is their kit. While it's a couple bucks cheaper than other places, their spacers for their screen are these little plastic bits. You put them on either side of the screen to kind of center it, and I mean, they work, right? Like it's nice. Luckily, I have access to a 3D printer, and the individual that made the screen or did that created a bracket and put up the files online, and other places sell it with it. So this is the bracket that I printed out. It took only 10 minutes on the 3D printer. It's really thin, really tiny. But the idea here is you fit the LCD right there. So there you go. I've already printed this out, and boom, it's now centered. And when you drop it in, it'll fit inside of the Game Boy Advance just fine. There will be some 3D printer takes a shot. Are we playing that game? Every time I drop, that's it is a pretty print. It's a 10-minute print. It's super thin. I mean, if you were to look at that, it's super thin, super tiny. But again, if you order from other places, I'm not going to name drop anyone else because Handheld Legends is who I bought everything else from. But the other company does provide this, so I'm hoping maybe Handheld Legends starts providing this. I think this is a better fix than these right here. I just happen to be able to print this out. Again, it was only a few minutes, and yeah. But so that'll be instead of these. So I'm going to start tearing this out. First things first. The next mod I'll do to this, and I couldn't get it, they didn't have it in stock, is I was going to do a battery replacement mod as well, do a recharge mod. So you can do that as well. So you can charge it with mini USB or USB-C, actually, some of the mods. So, and if you're familiar with anything Nintendo related, everything Nintendo does uses a tri-wing screwdriver. Which again, it's not standard in anywhere else except Nintendo, right? So if you're not familiar with what that looks like, I don't think I will be able to get it to zoom in that close, but it is, instead of being a Phillips, it's three. It's 1, 2, 3. So it's a tri-wing. So there we go. That's one. They make it so that you can't open it yet. These screwdrivers have been online for years. You've been able to find them everywhere. So they're a dime a dozen now. I don't even understand when. The only problem with these, depends on the size of battery. I've seen people put 25,000 milliamp batteries, and they'll last you a couple weeks on this mod. I mean, this LCD is so energy efficient that it doesn't take much at all. Yep. Oh, that's right. 2 more. One right there. Yeah, the standby is incredible, and then you just plug it into your phone charger and you'll be done. And plus, using a modern LiPo battery is for electronics is definitely the way to go, for sure. It really depends on how much you play, right? And there's one more screw. There we go. And there's one more, and this is where things kind of flip, right? And things go to the regular old. Is that my tribe? Is that's a regular? Yeah, it's regular. They put one Phillips down there. Yeah. Right there is a Phillips. There we go. Come on. What are you catching on there? Yeah, my electric razor as well. What's funny is my electric razor is a modern. I've got one that I use for the upper cheeks during the week, you know, and that I got it. It comes with a USB charger, and I charged it. I think Thanksgiving, right around Thanksgiving time, and I haven't had to charge it since. I think it's at 70%. So maybe Thanksgiving I'll be able to charge it again. If that tells you anything. Somewhere there's a Nokia that hasn't been charged ever, for sure. Just sitting behind a wall, like a Novell server. So again, this is still a nice shell. I'm gonna continue using that. So we're gonna put this to the side here. We don't need that. And we'll take these out. I'm not gonna be using these. What I will be using though, again, on these buttons are so this set comes with triggers left and right, the side pieces, which are those A and B button, and the directional pad, the D-pad. What it doesn't come with is a start and select. The start and select buttons are actually a membrane, so I will probably be using the red one from this just to kind of keep going. But using these would be silly because you can't see them. I mean, I could put them in there. We'll see. But so what's nice is the Game Boy Advance only has. It's the simplest thing to take apart. It's a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 tri-wing screws, one Phillips head behind the battery, and then it's like 3 screws holding down the board. So I am using the wrong size here. Let's go up a size here. There we go. And my third one, did I take all 3 out? No, there it is. And if you've ever had a Game Boy that has low audio, barely turn it up all the way, it's probably because your caps are starting to go bad. So this one, this one, this one, and this one, those will go bad. And changing these out is fairly simple. So it's another. So let's go ahead and unplug that old LCD here. Pop it out. We will click, click. Done. So there it is in all its glory. And you can see the speaker is a different style speaker than this for sure. So yep. So that's it. That's the Game Boy. This is the Game Boy Advance. And it's a, would you be surprised is this chip is actually fairly powerful. It's actually it's an ARM-based chip. So I mean you can see that ARM-based. It's actually more powerful than a Super Nintendo, but it has a different output resolution, and so that's why the Game Boy Advance, some people call it like a mini Super Nintendo. What are the chip specs? That's a good thing. I would have to pull that up. It's not much. It's like maybe 25, 45 megahertz ARM processor. I should be able to pull that up. Let's do that. That's a good job. Let's let's pull that up. GBA CPU specs here. Good question, Adam. Yeah, it is a 16.8 megahertz 32-bit ARM processor with embedded memory. So it's not a lot. What was the name of that company? Oh, so yeah, it's a Handheld Legends. So again, I'll plug them. Handheld Legends, and the kit for this, the IPS screen kit is 45, and then if you wanted to buy a shell, it's like 10, and then buttons can be like 5 or 6. I think I spent $80 total, and that'll refurbish an entire game. But like all I'm really going to use is this. This is all I need because I did order a shell. I didn't get it, so I'm going to reuse this one. But what's nice is they have pre-modded shells, and what I say that is I'm going to have to do some cutting on this shell to fit everything in here exactly the way we need to. So I'm going to go pop this out. I have done this before. I have popped this out. So that, see the thickness of that screen? And it's not even backlit. How thick that is right there compared to our new one. I mean, it's a half the size. Like, it's a big difference. And the screen is bigger. You're going to get a bigger screen, which is why when you order it, they give you a new glass cover, because this cutout is actually a little bit bigger. So you are getting a little bit more screen out of it, which is neat. So, all right. So I'm going to go ahead and pop everything out of here. We don't need this. We don't need that. And the gasket. This is the sticky gasket that it comes with. We don't need that. Put that on the side there. Button membranes. These are original membranes and buttons. Don't need these. We will need the light pipe. So that is the light pipe for the battery. So that little bitty clear piece is what shines the LED through. So we'll put that on the side here. And I keep the buttons. No, you know what? we're not gonna use. How about that? We're gonna use all the red ones, the new ones. So we'll do that. And we're not gonna use these buttons. We will need the power switch. Don't lose that. That's a pain in the butt. You have to order a new one. So here are the buttons. Don't need this. We don't need this. We don't need this. We don't need this. Thanks for that, Adam. Yeah, that's exactly it. The IPS. So it's the version 2, the advanced IPS backlit screen. All right. So another thing we're going to need to do is we're going to pop this out. So gone. So there we go. So this is what we need to modify. If you notice in here, if you buy a shell from them, they'll pre-modify it, as in they will cut all of these pieces of plastic professionally out. They probably route it out. I mean, it just looks real nice. I've seen them before. I'm gonna have to cut all this out. See these little lips, the little plastic lips that are in here. So all of that needs to be removed. And then there's also even some trimming that needs to be done, like right over here, right by the select button, and some right here next to this wall, but not completely, just a little bit. If you cut it out completely, this wall is where the where one of the buttons goes. So if this is the right button, so it's the left button that goes there. So if you trim too much, there won't be a spot for it to retain. So see this piece right here? That goes right there. And that's what gives it the springiness, this little metal piece right here. So we need to cut a bit of this wall, but not too much. If you cut it all, there won't be a spot for it to retain. So there we go. And I could use a Dremel. I do have a Dremel, but I do also have a very nice sharp hobby knife set, and that tends to work fairly well on this plastic. I also will be doing most of my trimming with a flush cutter. I do have a flush set of snips. Go to my pocket tool. And that will be far easier to do than trimming everything and then cutting through my wrist on camera. I mean, we have to do that, right? It'll bring in the views. Everyone will be like, oh, look at this idiot. Let's find my cutters here real quick. So we'll need these for sure. But where are my flush ones? I know I've got those. I just used them. Okay. I will find those eventually. I think I cut some zip ties off of something recently with them. I'll have to go to the garage in a little bit. Either way, we will just move on here. Let's change this tip. Thanks, man. Yeah, I was like, what's the best way to kind of show this without it being too boring? And hopefully this will be it. And yeah, hopefully that's shows all the angles I'm going to be working in. Or shows all my angles too, which aren't exactly the best angles, right? So I'm going to start off, I'm going to try this again. I'm going to try it with this one. This is kind of a flat, which will then allow me to kind of just cut this way. And what I got to do is I have to trim all of this little lip that's inside of here, all the way around. And it's not a lot, but it's just enough that you kind of have to pay attention. And so, yeah, and it's real soft plastic too. It doesn't even take much effort, which is why it's kind of silly to kind of go through it and cut it all off. So let's super light. What sucks here is it's not flat here, so pushing down. What's going on, Tim? Pushing down here might be a little harder than I wanted it to be. I might have to go get my trimmers here. Where are those? Unbelievable. Oh, you know what? Best investment you can make when you're cutting is nail cutters. So nail cutters I use a lot for really small wires. You could just grab when I'm using, for example, these wires right here. When you've got to trim these, you can barely squeeze and then pull, and you can strip them. So tiny wire that's like 30 gauge or below. This is a good way of doing that. So. I mean, by all means, you can. That's what I'm saying. If you're gonna buy a kit like this, just buy the pre-modded shell. I'm buying the pre-modded shell, which I did, but you know, buying the pre-modded shell means that all of this cutting is already done, and all you do is take it apart, put it back together, and plug stuff in, and you're good to go. So I'm doing this a little harder. So it's gonna be hard mode here. And we're just going to have to work it. So what I'm doing is I'm going to trim all of this real quick. And me trimming like this, I'll be able to just run the X-Acto knife right. Give it a good clean edge. This is my relaxing, man. I enjoy doing this. I enjoy working on electronics and pulling out the soldering station and just kind of. So yeah, I understand it's not for everybody, for sure. Just happy little solder blobs, happy little trees, happy little mistakes. Only you know you made them, except if you're live on camera and then you cuss everyone out. Why do you not 3D printing? I mean, you can, right? But 3D printers, I mean, right now, I mean, they wouldn't come out as smooth as injected molded ABS, right? Like there'd be lines. You would have to do a lot of finishing work unless you had a big resin printer, right? Then a resin printer would come out perfect, and then yeah, you could totally do it that way. So why? But my resin printer is not that big. I don't think I have the capability of doing one this big, for sure. All right. So you can notice right there, I've already kind of cleared all out. Like it's already flush with the rest of the body. It goes. There we go. It's starting to come all off. So that's what we're looking for. We're trying to remove the entire lip. It's right there. So we're lowering this all the way down until it's flush with the rest of the plastic. That is beard, not his afro. I envy the man's perm, for sure. Also, I would totally save. Right? That's how you know. Maybe this is pre-recorded. We don't know that, right? I haven't cut myself yet, so. But yeah, see, there we go. That was as you push a little bit, and I took that whole big chunk right there off, and not just to clean it up. And let's see if I can. I'm going to try to do a little trick. If you notice, sometimes you cut ABS plastic like this, and you're left with white, kind of like a white where the plastic was stressed, so it's not. You can remove that with a little heat. Just running a lighter right under it a little bit without melting it, of course. And what you'll do is you'll kind of burnish the edges of the plastic again and make it clear again. So that's something that can be done. But yeah, that we've taken all this whole edge off. So now we've got to just take this right here. There we go. A nice sharp X-Acto knife is the way to do this. There we go. Cut. Ah, see? Broke. And I didn't cut myself. But see, pushed too much on it. So now I'm going to have to use a side one. Just snapped on me. So what I'll do is I'll use something that's a little more, yeah, see that one, I shouldn't have been pushing that hard anyway. Oh well. So we'll go with something shorter so I'm not putting too much leverage on it. Difference is this one I've got to go at an angle now. It might be faster, who knows? A little bit of oh, that plastic. Yep. Plastic tubing. Yep. A nice sharp one will be able to, you'll be able to do that, right? Just kind of take that entire piece that you're trying to take off, just all in one big chunk. Almost done with that lip there. I don't want to cut towards you, so I'm trying to keep my hands away, because if it slips, that X-Acto knife ain't stopping. For sure. The nice part is all of that will be covered with that that new screen. So you won't be able to see the white plastic. So that's taken most of it off. I'm gonna run it right down this channel right here again. Cleared it all off, which I think I did. So let me take a look. I do have a picture on my iPad over here of what I need to trim, right? Right. And then we have to trim half of the wall down. I think we have to take out these little nubbins too. We just take part of this wall for the select button down, not the whole thing, just enough though. There are diagrams online for this, so that if you do want to do the cut yourself. The reason people like to do their own cut is there are a lot of third-party, like a lot of these shells that are special edition ones that some of the companies like this don't sell. For example, this Pokemon one obviously is just a clear black smoke one, and it's not that big of a special edition. The only thing that was special was the actual glass part, but I have to change the glass part out because it's if not, you'll get a crop screen. There's going to be part of it that doesn't show up there. So let's see here. So trimmed a little bit of half, or maybe even lower, I think, right? Is that what they're wanting us to do? We'll go a little lower. So right next to the select button, right? So start and select this spot right here. That needs to be like halfway down the wall. So if you just see this wall here, you'd notice that there's a wall, and then there's this has to be cut down about half. There's also a spot over here that needs to be cut kind of just partially this corner needs to be cut. So, and I think that's it, if I'm not mistaken. So I'm going to compare. I trimmed. I think so. So we'll a little bit more, just so it sits better anyway. And if you mess up here, that's okay. All of this is covered by the glass. So it's totally fine. Double check, see my cut. So I think we cut half of this right here. A tiny little bit. I don't understand why it needs that. I'm gonna kind of gauge it. Cut less than I need, and then go from there, right? If I cut too much, I can't go back. I'm gonna have to find a way to repair it. I can always take away. I can't put back. So. Just trying to cut half this little wall right here. So again, if we cut too much and we cut the retention wall for the trigger, and we don't want that. Ow. There we go. Come in here and just cut that. There we go. I think that might do it. Might? I say might? Probably not. But, we will see. We will see. All right. So I think that does it for now. I don't know why it's in there. I'm not even programming any chips today. All right. A little more whiskey here. So let's see what that's going to look like in there. No, that goes like that. Okay. All right. So I see what needs to be cut. So there's some little plastic like nubbins right here on this edge that need to be shaved down. So let's go ahead and do that. If I find my X-Acto knife again. Do that. Do you hate when you do that? Work on something and then you're like a screwdriver and you put it down just for a second and then all of a sudden you spend the next like 5 minutes looking for it and it's just right in front of your face. That's making you anxious? Really soft plastic, I promise you. It looks harder than it is. It's just more along the lines of following along and going, okay, where do I need to cut, what I don't need to cut. And if you mess it up, I mean, what you could do is you could buy a couple shelves. They're only $9 a piece, you know, $10 a piece. Buy one to practice on, or when you take apart your game, he might have left. I don't know. If you practice your game, you know, if you buy a Game Boy or you have your old Game Boy, take your original shell. I mean, I've got like here, if this is the original one, right? Like here's the original old. I mean, just take this one and cut it up and learn how to play and how to use this one. It's a good way to kind of practice. I mean, this one right here. There's the original Game Boy uh, one, and I mean, you can see how much wear this one's had, right? Like here's someone's hand, thumb that's worn the plastic. So, you know, being able to put a brand new one on it is neat. The only problem is, of course, is you'd have to mod it. For sure. I think that's it. I think I took them all down. Let me check. I'm pretty sure I did. All right. So I'm going to put this to the side for now, and I have to do something else, and that is I have to realize what version of the Game Boy Advance I have. There are two versions of the Game Boy. There is a 30 pin and a 40 pin, and that would be how many pins are on here, right? So I'm not going to sit here and count it. The motherboard itself tells you. So on the back, right where the battery is, if you were to open up, there's an O2 4-1. So let me remember how to do this. There is a verify. So the difference between the 30 pin and the 40 pin. So let's see here. If the number starts with a 1, you need the 32 pin. If the number starts with 0, it's the 40 pin. So starts with 0. So 0, 2. So it's a 40 pin. So this is a 40 pin. So that means that my the 40 pin installer is fairly simple. You don't have to do much. If I had to use the 32 pin, you have to fold the cable a specific way. They give you kind of a way of doing it. So there's a 30 pin and a 40 pin method of plugging it in, and I have the 40 pin. So that answers that. So let's open this up. I can get my hands on it. There we go. All right, so I'm gonna pull up 3 wires that I'm gonna use. Nice little super thin wires. Those will be for the button combination. This is really what you're paying for. If you were to crack the screen during the install, the screen is $18. The ribbon cable is worth more. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and tin these spots right here. So there is a spot for left, right, select, and ground. I'm going to go ahead and tin those. Hey, thanks, Legacy. So I'm going to pull out the old flux. That's it. That's all you got to do. Little flux, and I'm going to use RIP Radio Shack. My favorite solder. I'm going to have to find some replacement soon. I've gone down. Silver bearing. This is my silver bearing rosin core. This stuff looks cooler. It is not. This stuff is crap. This is lead free. It does not work very well. I hate it, but you need it sometimes when you're working on electronics that have lead free solder. If you try to mix regular solder with stuff that is not that is lead free, and you mix something with lead in it, it mixes and it'll cause stress cracks later. So you don't want that. So you want to use one type of solder, which is why I have this stuff, but I hate it. So all right, so let's go to cleaning here real quick, just because it's been on. And I put a really, really fine tip on there before I started. I mean, I usually use my favorite is to use my my chisel tip, because I flow a lot of solder, and it just I can do pretty much the same, but I decided to use this really tiny one because the spots are really tiny on here. When I say really tiny, it just means it's just precise. So yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4. There we go. And you can see right there 4 little drops of nice shiny solder now on that spot. So there we go. We're going to go ahead and install this, I think. Yep. Just goes right into the exact spot. So just right there. Boom. And then we're going to clip it down. 1, 2. And the cable's a little sticky. It's because let's go ahead and clean that, because the flux that I used, the flux pen can get a little sticky. So let's clean that. Get some isopro. Clean, 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 clean. There. Nice and clean. So there we go. So we got our 4 spots there, and I will, when I drop this in there, this will fold forward like that. I should just go ahead and add those cables to it, but then, yeah, I need to remember where those spots are. So let's, before I install it, you're right. But before I install it, let's go ahead and attach. So we need to attach this to the LCD actually. So, so here's the LCD. And this goes right down here, if you can see that. This is going to go right there, and then the LCD folds, a little fold clip, and it just attaches right there. And once it's attached, you kind of want to double side tape this ribbon cable to the back of the CD. So this, there's a fold. See, like you can fold it like this and like this if it's a 30 degrees, and then you would use this side as opposed to this, but I don't need to. Mine just goes boop, over. So let me go ahead and stick this. I've got some double-sided tape right here. And we'll just cut a little piece. There we go. So we've attached the double-sided tape right there, and now I'm going to go ahead and peel it off, I guess, sort of, kind of, if I can get this to swap right, there we go. So boom, double-sided tape. There we go. So now it's attached, and then let's go ahead and yep. Now let's go ahead and get this over. No, fold this over here. Don't want to push you down too hard; you'll crack that screen. It's just such a fragile little connector. This really isn't the hardest part, but I definitely don't want to be careful. If you can see that connector in there, it's gonna get the focus. 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 Anywho, that hole, the connector's tiny. I mean, my thumb, you can see, real tiny. Work with me here. Let's did I prematurely stick this down and not be able to get it? Okay, I'll do that. So I heard it snap. So now that it snapped, I will reattach this. There. No, yeah. No, so it needs to be lower. It needs to be right there. There we go. All right. So, and that connector is attached now. So the LCD is now attached to this ribbon cable, which has its controller. And then this will just go into the Game Boy. And yeah, so let's start building this. and we're going to go ahead and attach this to this. So the way you do that is, again, you add another piece of double-sided tape into this bracket right here. So I'm going to measure it real quick. Let's do it right there. That's more than enough. Boom. We're an hour in. We're not done. But maybe I'll just do the screen today. I don't know yet. All right. There we go. Go ahead and peel this double-sided tape. Off. There we go. Boom. Now, I'll take this screen here. Right there. Drop it. So there we go. So now this bracket is now attached with double-sided tape to this. So there we go. And next step, I guess, would be to add those wires. We've done the shell trimming. Yeah, so let's, so the next step is we need to see if it fits in here. All right, we'll go back to this. Aha, see? There's little spots that are like, there's another little plastic ridge that I missed right there that won't let that bracket sit properly. So let's trim that down. Boom, all in one shot. All right, did I grab it all? I did not. Look at that stubborn little sucker. There we go. You know what? I'm going to trim this one too. Wondering if the music is coming through. I have a chilled cow going on. You know, music to study with. Lo-fi hip-hop radio, beats to relax and study to. I've got that going in the background. I'm wondering if that's coming through my mic or not. Gotta chill. All right, let's try this again here. Fits. Look at that. Just my chilled cow. So yeah, it looks like I need to trim just a little bit more in there. There's something still stopping it from sitting in this corner right here. Don't know what it is, but I'm gonna trim it. Well, that goes to show that I'm using the AirPods, by the way, as my mic for today, just because I've got the way that I've got these 3 cameras set up on StreamYard is I literally have 3 separate connections. I've got one computer with one camera, my main computer with another, and then my phone connected. So all 3 of them are acting like 3 independent people in the meeting, and I'm streaming that. I figured that would be the best way to do it, not have to fight it. So my Mac has got one camera, setup, and my phone the other, and then my PC the other. So it's a trifecta of devices doing everything for me. So. Yeah, I guess there would be some Bluetooth lag, right? Yeah, that's interesting. Thanks for pointing that out, though. I didn't even think about that there would be any, but should just drop in. It's there. Got it to sit there, but it didn't fit. It's a little snug. You don't want to push. You just want it to drop in. Oh, goes. So could use a little more trimming, maybe. It's getting there. All right, let's just trim just a tiny bit more. I wonder what's holding it back here, because I think these lips aren't the ones that are. The lip on the inside isn't what holds it down. I mean, isn't what holds it back. It's usually the inner ones that I've already trimmed. So I'm confused, but I don't want to force it, because the LCD is so thin that I don't want to break it. I'd rather, you know, just rather take off more plastic. Just trim the fat. When I'm facing the camera, so I'm guessing if I look like this, I guess it's because if I look this way, the camera that's actually broadcasting my audio is this one. So and this one is on wireless. So 1, 2, 3. Huh, interesting. All right, let's see how that goes. I'll put it in this way first. Let's see what it does. It's like just barely not pushing. I gotta push just a tiny bit too much. What is holding it down? I'm wondering if it has to do with this. So here's the screen off there. going to have to be cleaned before I put the glass screen protector anyway. And you can't put it down with that on there. So. There. Plastic pieces everywhere. All right. Yep, there we go. Oh, I see why you trim the flex just a tiny bit more than I want it to. Should just fit in there. Like, what is holding it back? Let's pop that out again. What is it? Is this too thick? Like, I'm so confused. This is the first time I've done this kit, so I'm interested to figure out what does it. It's not thinner. Oh, the air. I'm sorry. I didn't realize that it was probably that. Oh, did they thin out those walls? Is that what's happening? Yeah, that's what's happening. It's this wall needs to be trimmed out a little more. Now I'm going to go ahead and do that. So let's. Wow. Okay. So best tool for that. Let's upgrade this knife. Let's go bigger. Let's go cleavier. Cleaver? Cleaver? No, nobody? Anybody? All right. So we'll go with a rounded one. And what we'll do is we'll be able to kind of just slice down. I technically don't even need that. All right. Well, that didn't last long. That was my own damn fault. Well, again, these aren't Exacto brand, right? These are like Harbor Freight Special. So putting too much pressure on these doesn't work. Let's go with something else. Let's go with that one right there. Down 3 blades. This will go. I'm gonna take it up with Handheld Legends and be like, you guys, I ordered a pre-modded ones. I didn't have to do all this cutting. It made me work hard. It's all right. Do it for the lulz, right? For the views, for the vines. No, wait, no, we don't do that anymore, right? Vine isn't. It's the TikToks. Is that what people do nowadays? The TikToks. The Zooms? No, I guess the Zooms are right now is the popular one, right? Everyone's like doing funny things on the Zoom meetings. Sound like an old man. I know what I'm doing. Shape it now. Get my fingers out the way. I really don't want to have to bust out the Dremel. Just might though. This is hideous. I have done other LCD mods where I've had to cut plastic and it's never been this finicky. So I'm really annoyed that the tolerance is that small for this particular mod. I've never heard a hip-hop radio beats to relax version of Redbone. Don't Cry, Redbone. That's a good piano version. One of my new favorite bands, or my recent favorites, which superseded a lot of bands just because they're that awesome, is the Midnight. And they announced the new single today. I've been jamming out to that. Of course, if I was to play that right now, I'd probably get taken down off of every media, every streaming site because of copyright. I don't want that. All right. Sorry. All right, let's see how that fits. Oh, come on. I'm going to put it on that side first. Yeah, it's starting to fit. I just got to trim maybe just a tiny fraction of a hair more. No, wait. Does that fit? Oh, oh, damn. No, nobody? It's not. No. It's like the tolerance is so fine. No, it's all the way down. I just got to fit the bracket in now. There we go. Come on. It's in there. Okay. Let's just trim up a little bit on down here at the lower half, and then we'll. Cut. Not much. This much. Cross. Take that up. There we go. Shaved it by a millimeter. We'll cut. All right. God, I swear that takes the longest part. That's the longest part of this mod, right? Come on. There we go. And it's in. Boom. Full bracket all the way down. The only part that's not sitting is this corner down here, but a little slight nudge. And it'll fit. It'll fit. I'll make it fit. Come on. There we go. So that's not sitting in there for some reason. But that's not the part that fit. That this is the bracket. Like this part just kind of retains it up top, but it's flush up there. So I don't know if it's the ribbon cable that's not letting it go. The ribbon cable's kind of in the way, just a tiny bit, not by a lot, but just enough that it's. Oh, there it goes. It clicked in. Ah. Okay, so it clicks in. It's just not wanting to. There's might be a little flex. Either way, there it is. All right, where's my? It's All right. So let's drop some solder, on these spots here. We need solder wires to select left and right. And yeah. These were the wires that I got here. Select left and right. So these tiny little wires here. Boom, left. right. Oh, no, that's not a clean blob. There we go. Right. Boom, boom, boom. And select. I hear the coffee maker. All right. Boom, 3 wires set. All right, so the next step is I need to get to those spots. So select, you can grab select from TP2 on the motherboard. So there is a spot on here, TP2, which is a little spot right there. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to, first things first is the best way is sometimes places like Nintendo, Sony, they like to add a little bit of solder mask. Basically, it's like a lacquer on top of the board. So I'll scratch just a tiny bit there. Then I'm going to drop a tiny bit of flux. And then I'm going to tin that spot, TP2. Oh, there we go. Boom. And again, this part is optional. You don't need to you don't need to solder it to that point. But if you can look right at my nail, there's a little spot right there. TP2, that's the select spot. And left and right are going to go right on to the pads. So so left and right buttons, we need to attach them to there. So we are going to drop them oh yeah, this side. And just we're going to put left and right just right there on left and right. So, boom, boom. So yeah. All right. The best way is select. So if I was to drop this right here, right now, which I'm not, we're going to go from the top. This is right, and this is left. So before I solder those down, I'm actually going to start putting this back together. I am going to skip the amp install for today. What's the estimated lifespan of rewiring new buttons? If your solder skills, I mean, if you can solder, I mean, you can. You're not gonna pull that, right? So I mean, if you do it right, if you tin the wire and you do it right, you aren't gonna get. I mean, you should be able to pull at that more than you would ever pull, right? Like, I mean, that's on a flex cable. I mean, that's not going anywhere, and this is gonna be underneath everything. So the odds of that ever coming loose are silly. There's all sorts of people online. If you were to follow Voltar, his name is Voltar, Voultar, on YouTube. He is kind of the grandfather slash de facto guy of soldering and for mods and stuff like this. There are other people that do it. Voltar just is one of the most vocal guys, and he does a lot of repairs off of people that have botched installs or have bought things like this off of eBay, and he will shame them online by opening it up, and you'll see like 3 sticks of hot glue. He likes to call it the Peter North special. And you open it up, it's just covered in hot glue, and hot glue has its purposes. I mean, I have a hot glue gun here. I have hot glue. but I'm never going to use hot glue on something like this. I would never cover my wires with hot glue. I trust my soldering. I trust that this job right here that I did, these wires aren't going anywhere because I did it right. I tinned the pad, I added flux, I added good solder, and I floated the wire into the solder and made sure it was cooled. And so now those three wires aren't going anywhere. So people that kind of crumple their wire, don't tin, don't heat up properly, overheat stuff, drop their wire in the solder and it's like all frayed and floating in solder. I mean, those wires are going to pop right off. If you're using cheap solder, this was not cheap solder. I mean, the silver bearing stuff. If you use cheap solder, when it gets cold, it cracks. And people, that's I said earlier on the stream, if Nintendo probably, like, if I was soldering onto places with solder, if I overfloat this with my solder, I can take it over. But if I was to do a big job, I guarantee you Nintendo used lead-free solder on here. So if I was going to solder something, I would remove all of their solder before I use my own. Or I would use something like lead-free, like this, to add to this solder. That way it works. If I mix solders and I put a wire there, my solder won't stick to their solder, and over time the solders will separate and my wire will come apart. So that's kind of the best explanation I can give here. Wick is your friend. This is kind of like the whiteout of the soldering community. You want to use this, and you basically, it's Brad, right? So all it is a lot of wire and rosin, and it's just copper, and you basically use your soldering iron, and you spread it, you push it on top of the solder, and then you lift, and this will soak up all of that old solder. So either that, or of course, there are expensive solder guns, and this is a cheapo, like suction, like you heat it up with your wire, you click down, you put it over the spot, pull, and this will fill up with, I mean, you can see there's like remnants of like flux and stuff in there. It's from pulling up old solder. So yeah. So again, to answer your question, lifespan, for life, you will never stress it. So let's go ahead, and I'm gonna drop the select and the start button in there. Boom. So the select and start, and I'm gonna go ahead and drop my buttons in here, because we are an hour and a half into this mod, and I don't want to deal with the sound one yet. I will reopen and do the sound mod. That's not that hard. I just want to be sure I do it right. I've never done one of those before. I've done LCD mods before. So here's the nice clear D-pad that'll go in there. And this doesn't have an orientation. It's just a round spot. So you just drop it in. And then this brand new one, there's a peg there and a peg there. So that goes like that. Right. So we'll drop that in. There we go. And so now I'm going to go ahead and here's my A and B button. But let's put our buttons in there. So B. So here is A. A and B. I guarantee you the plastic cutting and setting it is the hardest part of the entire mod. Add their clear buttons there. Oop. Which is why I'm telling you, buying the pre-cut is the way to go. So that's not going to sit in there. I didn't cut enough, so it works. It's just there's nothing, there's no lip holding it there. So that'll be one of the last ones I put in. So I didn't cut that. I mean, there's no And then these, these are always a pain in the butt. They don't like to sit in there very well. Did I put these on the wrong side? Sometimes. Yeah, I did. Ha! That explains it. Boom. Boom. All right. Last but not least, we'll add this onto here. Of course, it's hard because you're pushing the buttons down, right? There we go. So you can see that that sits there, the pegs are there, lined it all up, the membranes are down. All right, so now I did that because I need to set the motherboard down and place it. And again, this is select, and this is right, which goes this way, and the left goes over here. So, so I need to be sure I put these in the right spot. So yeah. So they come under is the best way that they were saying to do it. So come under, let's come down. We'll come down this way. I gotta be sure I don't mix them up, right? So select. Left. So let's here. Left. Right. And select straight down. So I kind of get a view of what I'm doing. Tuck that wire through here. Through that cartridge holder. Where am I? Apparently, man, that's what I'm doing. So we'll tuck that this way. And we will tuck this one this way. There, so now I won't get them confused. Clicks. So let's go ahead and I'm going to add my three buttons back, my three screws back in here, just because that'll hold the board down, and I don't need to come back in here. That down. Oh, what am I doing here? Oh, the speaker didn't set. Look at that. There we go. I will set that back up. All right, so just as a test look here, I mean, obviously, I want to see what that looks like. So we've got clear buttons. Oh, I guess you can see the red membrane. Look at that. I messed up. I forgot to put that light pipe back in there. I told you. I knew. I even mentioned it earlier on the stream. I'm like, don't forget that light pipe. And I totally forgot the light pipe. So let me put that back in there. Shit happens. Doing stuff live like this, you're going to see every mistake I make. But that's okay. We learn. All right, so we're going to lift this back up a tiny bit. I'm going to put that light pipe back in there. Don't want to. Boom. Light pipe back in. Nice part is I can always set the other buttons. I can set these buttons. Don't need the board to be sitting properly. Let's just remove all this. Boom, boom, boom. Out of the way. All right. Just to make sure I got my wires. I lost that wire. Came undone. I'm gonna tuck it back over through here. I need to just solder that wire and be done with it, right? Let's just do that. Put it on the pad. So those are gonna. So this wire is gonna go onto this pad right there. This spot right there, because that's the right or the left, and this is the right over here. And yep. So let's set this down here and make sure that speaker is set again, because that speaker gives me trouble. There we go. Boom. Motherboard is set down. Look at that, stepping on. Sucks that the music isn't coming through, but that's okay. I guess I'd rather not get hit with copyright. Aldo, is Chilled Cow copyright? Can you copyright that? I think all of his music is copyright free, right? Which is why he's allowed to kind of just make the mixes and broadcast it. It's all, I don't know how that works. I don't know how he's, my knees, man. Calling my knees out, sexy. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Not safe for work, man. So I'm just going to go ahead and do this. So let's so let's add a little flux there. And like I said, I'm going to be mixing solder here. So I'm going to overflow mine. Give it really a good flow of mine to kind of overpower that on Nintendo's there. So you can see this good flow. Good blob there. Take this one. So again, like I guarantee you, they probably use lead-free. And I don't want to use lead-free. I hate using it. See, mine is nice and shiny. Boom. Okay. Tip. we go. That wire, like I said, isn't going anywhere. I am more than confident with my soldering skills. Actually, I'm supposed to do it to the inside. So it's this one. So let me. It's this side. That's the button, not the outside, which is what I did. That's okay. Oh no. See? This is the port. I'm not even looking. It's that one. So, and it's this one. So look at that. I'm soldering to the wrong spot. All right. Let's undo this one. Go, and we'll drop it there. And there we go. I did not flow that one. You can see kind of a nonsense. Don't like that. Don't like it. All that lead-free solder that just got shot out of there. So I just cleared that whole post. So I'm going to flow it with my own here. There we go. Nice. Boom. Still got their solder attached to my tip. I don't like this. There we go. Okay, and now I got to drop this spot. This right here. I'm gonna pull this. This was on. Oh, was it on the other side? Did I? Yeah, buddy. I was supposed to solder this on the other side before I did it. There's no spot for the select button on this side. Amazing. So I'm supposed to solder that spot before I put the board down. This is why the button controls are optional. You don't need them. If you don't put them on the board, it will work just fine. You just won't be able to toggle brightness control. I wanted to do that, so I'm going to do it. But as you can see now, this is the third time I've had to take this board out. And you live and learn, right? But now I have these buttons soldered, so I'm going to have to fold it over a bit. See, fold it over. This needs to go to that TP2 spot. So I'm just going to drop it real quick. But I need to do it just right. So boom. So how would I do this? Like that. I'm going to trim this. I hate this. Nope. Don't like what I did there. I don't like what I did there. I don't know why I trimmed that. These wires are already pre-tinned. Now we're going to have to tin this. Lovely. There we go. Yep, still going, Tim. This mod is not the hardest, but definitely want to take my time. It's my chill, my groove, my zen on. For sure. Drop that back in there. All right. Everything is soldered in. I do need to fold that into there. I will do that. Make sure all of that is pressed down. Okay. I'm going to put these screws back in for the fourth time. It's the fourth time I've done this. Probably the fourth time. That's okay. You know what? I need more bourbon. Yep. That's exactly what I need. Ooh, fire belly. I felt that. Let's double check there. Boom. Thing is set. Slider set. Power button. Excuse me. All right. I'm gonna fold this. Where are my other? Let's use some better ones here. Oh, I'm missing my flat ones. Where are those? Bugger. Of course. The ones I want aren't the ones I have. Oh, there they are. So I like these. They're nice and flat, and you can grab the cable. So I'll use these. And click. And click. All right. So ribbon cables in. Drop that in. Drop this side in. This is my right side, so over here. Clip that in. Boom, 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 boom. That's working. And this side into here. Clip that in. Boom. There we go. And then we will drop the power button. I always forget which way this goes. I think it goes this way. Yep. Okay. Boom. All set. Of course, before I completely put everything back together, you want to test it, right? You got to test it. So I'm going to snap most of it back together, of course. So make sure that they do that right. black and clear with red buttons. That ain't too terrible. Huh? So let's see what this looks like. And again, I'm gonna just kind of drop these batteries in. Boom. Boom. And cartridge. There we go. EverDrive. Oh, she lives. Yep. Oh, look at that sexiness. Oh, that screen is ridiculously bright. No, if you can. I mean, Rolls, you saw at the beginning, right? It was a different screen, man. Black and white. I mean, just not backlit, but there we go. She is alive, and now it's time to Ooh, you know what game looks always really good? I mean, that game looks great, but uh, uh, so it's a full IPS replacement. So you take your old non-backlit GBA screen and you replace it. And this screen, I mean, it takes it directly from the GBA, just like in it would. It's just a nice powered backlit screen. And I did a replacement of the buttons, changed the membranes out, and I had to do what took me longest. I mean, we're 2 hours into the stream, and the longest was because I didn't buy a pre-modded shell, right? Like these shells. The company that sells the screen, there's some trimming of plastic that has to be done to make it fit. And so I had to shave all of that by hand, and you don't want to fuck it up, right? Because then you're out of a shell. So you don't want to cut too much. But now it's just putting the screws in and ready to go. But let me try one more. One of my favorites. We'll go to Game Series Collection. No, we'll go. No. Uh, let's see here. Boom, boom. These games are all out of order because the card doesn't see them in the right order. But we're going to look for. If you're not familiar with what I'm doing, this is an EverDrive, which is basically most of the GBA titles all on an SD card and allows you to play them directly on real hardware, flash card, right? What am I going to try? Ah, yeah, there we go. Metroid Zero Mission. That always looks such a great looking game. I mean, that's a night and day difference, right? Get it to focus. Great view angles. And it's a modern IPS screen, so. And there is no blurriness. It's as sharp as the original screen is, fully backlit. I don't remember where I'm at in this game. That's the last time I played this version. But there we go, man. Yeah, it draws it off the AA battery. Sorry if I didn't answer that. Yeah, it uses the regular AA batteries. I mean, I can mod this and add a better battery into it for sure. It's just I haven't. But yeah. All right, so let's finish this mod up real quick. Let's close her all up. She is ready to go, and then we can clean off that screen, and then we'll drop that nice glass replacement on it, and then she'll be done. So let's see here. We've got. So let's clean up my mess here. Boom, 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 boom. So we're gonna drop the one Phillips head right there. Boom. The one Phillips head right there. Then we need to drop the terrible Y screws. If I could turn it into a switch, I mean, I don't know if I've shown my switch on stream before, or maybe I haven't. So I've modded this one too. My switch has definitely been modded as well. It's been so this is my switch, and she's got red Nintendo buttons. She's got a full Nintendo shell added to the back. I want to take a look at that. But I've taken this apart too multiple times, and this is my baby, and she looks great. So, do I have any unmodded electronics? They wouldn't be my electronics if I didn't mod them, right? That's kind of the I don't own them until I've done something to them. That's my consensus. I think I have talked about that before. I feel like electronics in general, they're real pretty when you buy them, but being able to do something to them that makes them your own really makes things so much better, right? Like I think that again, even all these older consoles, being able to kind of mod them and make them better than they were is great. I mean, the SP, the Game Boy Advance SP came out, and that had a backlit screen, but it didn't have an IPS LCD. So having an IPS LCD is definitely better nowadays. But even then, you could have bought one that had a backlit screen, and it looked great, but it wasn't. It didn't have this form factor. This form factor was, I think, better. It was more comfortable to play with, right? So your hands sit on the sides. Having something that was in this form factor was, you're cramped. I mean, obviously the DMG is big, so it fits, but the smaller ones got smaller, so everything was smaller. So being able to use this one now, so now this one is just as bright now as this one. So actually, I didn't even think about it, but now it's clear with red buttons. You can see the red coming through, and this is black and red with white. I mean, they match. I like it. I didn't even think about that. Didn't even think about it. Let's finish adding these last buttons, these last few screws back in. Then we're going to clean that screen real quick. And then we're going to put the glass screen protector on it. Boom. They do matchy match. I didn't even think about it until just now. Like, they look great. All right, all the screws back in. Buttons are nice and clicky. Button, that feels good. That feels good. Okay. We are going to clean that screen, and of course, we're going to clean it with something that matters, which is, of course, some nice lens cleaning wipes. So let's go ahead and do that. Wow. We don't leave any streaks because once you put the glass piece down, obviously you can't get back in here. You don't want to be looking at a piece of dust that you can see underneath the lens, right? We will. A little bit of streakage. All right. So now let's add the glorious glass. Shall remove this. There we go. We will remove now comes the beautiful part. And we will drop our batteries back in. Button. There we go. She's complete. Where'd my pick all this up? There we go. There she is. Yep. Gotta change the battery out on this thing, but let's oh no. That's okay. I think it's because my clock is broken, so. How can that be created? Huh. Must be my clock is broken on it, so I gotta fix that. Play something else. Let's go to There it is. I think that's it, guys. Ladies and gentlemen, anybody who's watching, she is complete mostly, right? I didn't do the audio mod on it, but I'll get to that. I mean, all it does is make it just a bit louder. I need to add some wires to that, to the pads, to the ends, and then they'll go back out, and we'll go from there. But all in all, this particular mod is not hard to do. Just a little more time intensive, and it took me a little longer than I wanted to change out the buttons and change out do the shell cutting. But all in all, there she is, red and black with clear, and she matches the EverDrive, and she's now modernized, right? So a backlit GBA, nice glass screen. Cool. Thank you. Have a good one. 2 hours and 15 minutes chilling. Have a good one, guys.